Hi, bonjour, and welcome to the Step Over Podcast, Ottawa's grassroots soccer podcast. I hope you're doing well, and my goodness, I hope you're keeping cool. I think in the last 3 days I've drank my body weight in water, and one of my favorite things to drink in the warm months is pink lemonade. You know, the kind you make from concentrate. Oh, so good. Actually, what flavor is pink lemonade? I never thought about that before. I'm going to look that up. Let's see here. So you got your food dyes to make it pink, and I guess some pink lemonade's flavored with raspberries, strawberries, grapefruit, or other fruits. I got no idea. I don't think it tastes like any of those things, but I like it. So if you want to drop off a can of pink lemonade concentrate, I'll take it. I will take that off your hands. Now it's getting towards the end of summer, and if you have kids playing soccer, that means it's end of season tournament time. When I was in my rec soccer days, I always loved the end of season tournament. I know that was always stressful for my parents. When they had 3 kids playing rec soccer, when we weren't all at the same fields. My brother had to be at Richmond Lions. I was in Beckwith. Sister had to be at South Carlton. So I can't say I envied them. But as a kid, that was always something that you look forward to. And so in that spirit, we're going to be chatting with Bill Coleman, who is the executive director of the Gloucester Dragons soccer club. This weekend, they're hosting their Soccer Days weekend end-of-season tournament, which sounds like it's going to be a good time. So we're going to talk with him and learn all about the Gloucester Dragons in general. You may know them as the club that Jonathan David got his start at. But first, I want to take a few minutes. I've kind of cooled down after watching Atletico Ottawa fall 4-0 to Forge FC the other night. I'm trying to be better when I watch any sports, really. I try and stay off social media as much as I can. I try not to post too much, especially when things aren't going the way that I want them to. I think a lot of us have a hard time posting rational thoughts when you're overly upset about something. I'm one of those people. And yeah, after watching Ottawa fall 4-0, I wasn't feeling great about it. But now that a little bit of time's passed, I think it's important to ask the question, what's the biggest issue that's holding the team back right now? They're last in the league right now. By far the worst goal differential at -12, which is one of the most worrying signs, really. They're tied with Halifax for the fewest goals scored at 11 and 23 goals against. The top 4 teams make the playoffs at the end of the year. And if you're essentially getting outscored 2-1 over the course of the season, you're not making any playoffs with that. So I've seen a lot of fans posting online asking, is Coach Mista the right guy for the job? And I said privately to a few people that I don't think he is, based on what I've seen so far. But I'm going to step back from that, at least for now. And I'm going to try my best to give him, a longer leash for the next few games. Because you have to remember, Ottawa's only played 5 normal games, period. Last season almost doesn't count. They only played 7 games in a bubble season, the Island Games bubble tournament. So it's hard to use that as your basis for anything, really, I think. And then this season started with 8 games in another bubble in Winnipeg. They've had a few players signed who weren't able to join because of COVID. So they've had to bring in new players during the season, kind of building the team on the fly. So I've decided I'm going to try not to call for Coach Mista's head for another 5 to 10 games. They're 13 games into a 28-game season, and only the last 5 league games have been outside a bubble. Ottawa's played pretty well at home, and the next 4 games, those are all at home. They're key games. If Ottawa doesn't win at least 2 of the next 4 games, I think you can probably just write off the season. But something Miska's got to show is that he can adapt to the situations presented to him during a game. Personally, I can't say that's something that I've seen so far. So I said in the last podcast, I quite liked the game that assistant coach AJ Cabra, when he was in charge for a game with Mista out on a red card suspension. I like some of the moves that AJ made, and one of those was changing formation. And that's something I want to see from Mista. If something isn't working, I don't want you to stick with that while it continues to just not work. If it's not working, do something different. Anything, even if the new thing doesn't work, at least show that you're trying to adapt. But I'm willing to give him, say another 5 to 8 post-bubble games. That gives you 10 to 13 kind of normal season games on top of the abnormal ones we've seen. But that gives you 10 to 13 kind of normal games to see if there's been any progression before we pass final judgment. Before I pass final judgment anyways. You can do what you want. If you want to call for his head now, that's you go ahead. But I like to think I try to be rational. And while I'm not happy with what I've seen and it doesn't feel like things are going to get better, I think it's at least fair to give him a bit more time. Anyways, Ottawa's back at it this Sunday against Halifax. It's a great opportunity to kind of forget the last game and get back on the right foot. And on that note, let's change gears. The kids are looking forward to playing this weekend. For the Gloucester Dragons, it's their soccer days weekend. So let's talk with their executive director, Bill Coleman. So Bill, I want to start off with a bit of a curveball for you. You're the chairman of the Gloucester Dragons. What's your favorite movie that has a dragon in it?
Oh boy. We actually have started doing these types of interviews and asking these kinds of questions to our kids. And they always come up with great answers. I don't have a good one. The only one I can think of, I guess I can think of a couple now, but probably How to Train Your Dragon is my favorite dragon movie right now.
That's such a good one. Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I locked in my answer is Dragonheart. I really like that movie. I liked that one when I was growing up.
Oh yeah, that was a great movie.
But I loved How to Train Your Dragon, and I'm not sure which one I actually like more. But so something I always ask people, especially when they're like in a non-playing role, what's your background with soccer? Like, when did you first get into the sport?
Oh, I started playing when I was 4, and played house league all through my teen years. And then I played at high school and started playing at university. Actually, I played for Bishops, and we were playing against really strong teams like Concordia and McGill and Sherbrooke, all these teams that were going to the nationals. And our little university Bishops didn't have a strong team. So I was actually a sweeper until I started playing at university. And then I started playing keeper when I was at university because we didn't have a strong keeper, and I've been in net ever since. So I've been playing for, I don't know, I guess almost 48 years now.
Oh, right on. So you still play?
I do, yeah. You have
like a weekly team or anything?
Yeah, I play in a couple of leagues. I play with the Gloucester Gentlemen's League in the winter. Just all the old timers. So the old timers for the OCSL. Blackburn Arms has a fantastic league for adults. So I play with them as well.
Right on. When you were growing up, did you have a favorite team or a favorite player?
I have to say, I love playing sports. I love playing soccer, and I get out maybe once or twice a year to watch a live game, but that's about all I do in terms of following professional sports and professional soccer.
Okay. So you're the chairman of Gloucester Dragons Soccer Club. So I was born and raised in the West, in Stittsville. I played my soccer for Goulburn. So I'm going to play dumb. It's a very easy game for me to play.
Good job.
I know very little about the Gloucester Dragons. So can you give us a bit of a rundown of the club for people like me who don't know a lot about it yet?
Sure. Well, the Gloucester Dragons is 50 years old this year. We started as the Gloucester Soccer Association back in 1971. We are the largest youth recreational club in Ottawa.
Really?
So we focus 100% of our energy on rec. We don't have a competitive side at all. And we've got about, this year, we've got 1,250 youth rec players playing for Gloucester Dragons.
That's fantastic. So what ages do they range from?
And they start at 4 and go all the way to 18.
And how did you first get involved with the club?
We moved to Ottawa about 7 years ago, and I've got 3 kids, and they were all playing soccer at the time. And so I was looking for a club, and Gloucester was the one that was in the neighborhood. So that's what we signed up for.
So you first joined as a parent. When did you kind of move into, being a part of the running of the club?
Well, I've always loved coaching. So I've coached my kids since they started. So, my oldest is 18 now. So they've had the benefit or lack thereof of my coaching for the last 14 years. And so when we signed up with the Gloucester Dragons, I started coaching all three of them because I could do that in 1 week because two of them were only playing once a week. And then slowly over time, once the commitment became twice a week, I could only coach two of them. And now, one's aged out, and the other one wants to play other sports, baseball and rugby and all those other sports. So I'm only coaching the one. So I joined the board about 6 years ago, just as the director of operations, because I used to work for Canadian Blood Services as a director of operations. So I felt that skill set could be useful for the Dragons too.
Okay, that's great. You mentioned that the Dragons is exclusively like a rec club. Like, what's the reason for that? Like, why no competitive side to the club?
So there are lots of competitive clubs, and what we found is that even though 80% of kids should be playing rec, that there is always going to be a 20% who want to play more competitively. They want to travel. They want to be doing the tournaments. But we believe that 80% of kids are out there just to have fun. They want to play once a week. They don't want to have to travel too far. And that's rec soccer. That's house league. And the kind of parent that you get who's got a kid who's in competitive has a very different approach than those who just play once a week, those who play rec. And the clubs that are both competitive and rec tend to be very driven by the competitive side because of that. They're paying more, their kids are more committed, they're more committed. So they're driving all of the decisions and taking a lot of the money from the club to go to those programs. By having a club that's strictly focused on rec, 100% of our funds go to rec. So we've got a good quality rec program. We've got over 200 volunteers who support our rec program as well. And it's all focused on the 80% of kids who really should be playing rec soccer.
Now, with that many kids playing, you're going to have some kids who maybe really fall in love with the sport and are really good at it, and may want to pursue a more competitive atmosphere. So what do you kind of offer to them? Do you say like, hey, like, this is a really good club in the area that you can move to, or like what kind of what do you tell them?
Oh yeah, we get a handful of those kids. So Jonathan David played for us. He played for the Dragons,
of course,
and so he played for us for I think 2 seasons, and then he moved over to the Hornets, which is a competitive club in Gloucester. And then from the Hornets, he went to the Internationals, which is the competitive club in sort of Eastern Ottawa, downtown. And so we definitely encourage that. When we see a kid who's got talent and ambition to play at a higher level, we absolutely promote them to go play for a competitive club.
Now, you mentioned Jonathan David. Do you have any coaches still there who like remember him as like a 10, 11-year-old?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah.
We reached out to his coach a couple of years ago when he first hit the scene in Europe. And because we were getting media inquiries, we want to know who coached Jonathan David when he was 8 years old. And so I reached out to the coach. He had no clue. He remembered sort of having the superstar on his team, but he hadn't followed his path and his career. So he didn't know that Jonathan David had become the star that he has today. So it was pretty cool. He was happy to have been a part of his life, remembered him as a super skilled player, and was happy that he'd gone on to success.
That's cool for him too, because now he's got this story where, he can tell everyone, oh yeah, I taught Jonathan everything he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm responsible for his success.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think maybe he'll put that on his resume. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll see.
So I wanted to ask about the Powered by Atletico program. So I always ask clubs about this because, as far as I know, it's sort of different with each club, and because of COVID, there's only so much that you can do right now. But so the Gloucester Dragons is one of the Powered by Atletico partner clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what kind of conversations have you had with Atletico Ottawa so far, and what are you hoping might come from that relationship?
Well, for us, it's all about being part of the soccer community. So we love to be able to offer our players, our kids, the opportunity to go see Atletico games. We want them to feel a kinship, a partnership with the Atletico club, and Atletico's actually been they're really trying to be good partners, but it's just been a challenge with COVID to have some of the community events that they normally would. But in the previous iteration of professional soccer in Ottawa, we would have community soccer days where Fury would come out and they would coach our kids. We would be able to have on-field activities happening at Fury games, and that's what Atletico is going to do for us as well when we're allowed. But we haven't been able to get there. But it's an important partnership for us.
So from the first part of your answer, it kind of like sounds like it's they're there kind of to inspire the young players that make up Gloucester Dragons.
Well, inspire, yeah, but really just provide that fun. It's fun to go out and watch a soccer game. It's fun to be with your friends and go to a sporting event, and it's kind of cool to see the mascot at your games, and it's all a part of that fun environment that we try to promote.
So yeah, obviously the pandemic has been a challenge for for everyone, and like for every sports organization. But since the restart, like how is the return to play been going? Are the participation numbers getting close to pre-pandemic numbers? Like how has that been?
Yeah. So we were one of the only clubs who actually played a season last year in COVID.
Okay.
So we had games. The first half of our summer, we had physically distanced practices only. And then once we were allowed in August to move to games, we moved to games. And so we had a partial season. And last year we had about 800 players instead of the 1,400 we had the year before. So it was a smaller group. And we really cut the fees so that we made it attractive for people to keep playing soccer. So we as a club lost a bunch of money, over $100,000 that year, just to continue to run soccer. And then this year, our numbers are back up. So we are at 1,250 players this year instead of the almost 1,400 we had pre-pandemic. And we think that's going to increase. We see those numbers going up. So I think it's going to be, I'm really optimistic to see what's going to happen.
Okay, cool. So for for parents who are looking for their kids, for a place for their kids to play, like what sets Gloucester Dragons apart from other clubs? Like what makes Dragons, like especially if you're only looking for a place for kids to play rec soccer, what sets Gloucester Dragons apart from other clubs?
Well, that is it. We focus 100% on fun soccer. So I've played competitive soccer. I know that it's fun as well, and I had a great time doing it. But there is a difference between playing competitive soccer and playing 100% fun rec soccer. So we invest all of our energy to make sure that we've got a great rec program where kids can come and have fun every week. And it's a whole lot less expensive to play rec soccer than it is to play competitive soccer. And so we focus on fun, and we focus on a good quality, safe environment.
I don't know what the fees are across like all the clubs in Ottawa, but like how does Gloucester Dragons compare with other clubs in terms of playing fees?
Our fees are very low. So for a standard summer season, it costs $150 to play for the summer. Or if you're U14 or up, it is $200 for the season. And if you compare that to any of the competitive clubs, they are several times higher than that. When you consider the registration and the team fees, you're usually paying over $1,000 for a season. So we're quite inexpensive.
Okay, and is keeping costs for families low like something that's part of what's important for Gloucester Dragons?
Oh, it is. Yeah, we want to make sure we've got soccer available to anyone who wants to play. So we keep our fees low, and we're breaking even or losing a little bit of money every year. But we've got good bank reserves. We don't need to worry about that piece. And then if there aren't families who can even afford the 150, we work with sports programs like the Canadian Tire Fund. The name is escaping me right now. Anyway, we work with other granting agencies to make sure they can afford to play. And if they don't qualify for those grants, then we cover their fees as well. So we want to make sure anybody who wants to play soccer, have 100% fun, can come and play with us.
Yeah. So something that has kind of become apparent over the last little while of learning more about the local scene is that the cost of soccer has skyrocketed since I was playing as a kid. Like, what are some of the challenges of keeping those costs low? Like, why have the costs gone up so much?
Well, for us, it's another reason why we focus strictly on rec, because on the competitive side, you're paying coaches, you're paying technical directors, you're paying other staff to make sure that you've got a good competitive program. For rec, we've got a base of 200 strong volunteers. We train our coaches. We pay for the training for our coaches. We've got our technical director is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. We all volunteer our time so that we can keep it inexpensive for anybody who wants to play. And that's why we can do it at the rates we do it. And for competitive clubs, they have to charge a lot more.
So on social media, the club has been promoting, the Soccer Days weekend that's coming up this weekend. Yep. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So it's really our year-end tournament. So we've got probably about 4,000 people who are going to be coming to Potvin Fields on Saturday and Sunday. So that's 28th and 29th. We'll have a couple of food trucks there, but it's basically all of our players and their parents and grandparents and whoever else wants to come out and watch them play in this great festival environment. And it's our final hurrah for the year, our final festival. We know that we've got Tim Tierney, counselor from, I can't remember which ward, but from Beacon Hill, basically. And Laura Dudas are going to be there as well. So we've got we were hoping that we would get the mascot from Atletico, but they can't come. And we were hoping to get a couple of coaches as well, or the coach. But no, unfortunately they weren't available. But it's just a chance for the kids to come out, have one final fun festival for the year to end our season.
Right on. Yeah, does Atletico have a mascot actually? I keep looking, but
they don't. I thought they did, and we asked for them, but not yet.
I feel like they need a matador or something,
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yes,
I think that'd be perfect. Yeah,
come slicing through the opposition. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I remember the end of year tournament for playing rec soccer. Like it always seemed like a really fun thing to do. You played a ton of games. How is that kind of evolved over the years? It's been so long since I was part of that. Has it changed over the years?
Well, the basics are still there. We're out there to play some fun soccer, and it's a round robin at all age groups. And then we have some trophies at the upper age groups. But all the kids are going to get their medals for coming out and having a great season. Because it is our 50th anniversary, we're giving out some special Dragons medals as well. So the kids are going to enjoy that. But it's basically that. It's a nice year-end tourney.
All right. So my last question, is there anything that the Dragons have coming up that you want to put out there? Like any programs for the winter or fall?
We absolutely do. So for our first time, we are launching fall soccer. It's going to be at U8, U10, U12, and U14. We'll be playing at Potvin on Saturdays at Potvin is by the Shefford Sports Park, by the Shefford Sports Arena in Beacon Hill. And we've already got over 100 kids who've signed up, and we just opened registration 2 days ago. So it's going to be our first fall season starting September 11th for about 10 Saturdays. And we encourage everybody to come out who wants to just play 100% fun soccer.
And so if people want to find out more information about Gloucester Dragons, where would be the best place to go?
Well, you can go to our website, which is dragonsoccer.ca. And actually, I should mention that the fall soccer is only $50, and it's going to be games every Saturday. So again, it's going to be inexpensive and all fun, and we'll keep it safe and organized too. But at dragonsoccer.ca, you can click on registration, and it'll take you right there.